It may only be October, but already there are several clubs where the project this season isn't going to plan. With that in mind, here is Eurofootball Daily's pick of 10 teams struggling to meet expectations. Let's get into it. 10. Aston Villa. Having spent just under £60 million in the summer window, there was plenty of optimism at Villa Park ahead of the new season, with star names like Boubacar Kamara, Diego Carlos and Philippe Coutinho all signing on permanently. However, after 9 games, Villa are faltering below the expectations many had of them. Sitting in 16th place, they have just 4 wins in their previous 20 league games, a slump which dates back as far as March. With the injuries also mounting up, things aren't looking good for the under-pressure Steven Gerrard. Carlos and Kamara are both set for considerable time on the sidelines, as is their left-back Lucas Digne. Alongside the injury woes, performances have been lacklustre. The Birmingham-based side have scored the 3rd fewest goals in the league, whilst ranking amongst the worst teams for chances created, expected goals and shots on target. To make matters even more perilous, they've also averaged less than a goal per 90 across their last 20 league games, with almost a third of those strikes coming against now relegated Burnley and Norwich. Put simply, their squad should be capable of achieving so much more. 9. RB Leipzig. If RB Leipzig were ever going to make a serious charge for the Bundesliga title, this looked like the time. Given the lackluster nature of Bayern Munich's 10th straight Bundesliga title, plus the fact they lost Robert Lewandowski to Barcelona, a window of opportunity looked to have opened for the Red Bull franchise. But despite managing to hold on to the desired trio of Christopher Nkunku, Konrad Laimer and Josko Gvardiol, plus adding Timo Werner, David Raum and Xaver Schlager to their ranks, Leipzig appear to have gone backwards. Just months after leading the club to their first ever DFB Pokal, Domenico Tedesco has been shown the door. That decision followed a humiliating 4-1 defeat to a threadbare Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League, while domestic losses to Union Berlin and Eintracht left plenty to be desired. Marco Rose has arrived to turn things around, yet a 3-0 defeat to Borussia Mönchengladbach shattered any hopes of a boost up the table. Just 8 points off leaders Union, it's not all doom and gloom, but any hopes of a title challenge now look like a pipe dream at best. 8. Nice. This time last season, Nice sat 3rd in Liga. However, 22-23 has been far from ideal for the Eaglets, with just 3 wins leaving them languishing in 13th. Yet this really shouldn't be the case when you consider their ambitious summer activity. Backed by the deep pockets of English billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Nice spent big on the likes of Gaëtan Laborde and Sofiane Diop, while capturing free agents in Ross Barkley and Aaron Ramsey, along with the loan addition of Nicolas Pepe. Although their recruitment was random at best, new boss Lucien Favre certainly had plenty of talent to work with. But rather than flourish, his side have been terrible in front of goal, with their tally of 9 goals the 2nd lowest in Ligue 1. Pepe has been disappointing, with just 2 goals and one of those coming from the penalty spot, whilst Barkley was given 3 out of 10 on his debut by the brutal French outlet L'Équipe. Nice also signed Leicester legend Kasper Schmeichel, but he too has endured a torrid time on the south coast. With his new signings in rotten form and standouts from last season not quite firing, Favre's side are going nowhere fast. 7. Nottingham Forest. After finally making their return to the Premier League after 23 years away, Nottingham Forest had everything to be excited about, but the City ground has quickly gone quiet, with the Reds currently in the relegation spots after 9 games of the campaign. Steve Cooper's side were notoriously busy in the summer market, making a record 23 signings. However, their activity is yet to yield a return. Despite a host of quality additions ranging from Dean Henderson, Renan Lodi and Serge Aurier to Emmanuel Dennis and Jesse Lingard, they have managed just 1 win and have shipped the 2nd highest number of goals in the league. With such a high squad turnover, it was always going to be a huge challenge for Cooper to get his new side playing as a unit, but latest reports suggest the Welshman is running out of time, despite signing a new contract. Whilst they certainly have the quality to avoid relegation, Forest need to act fast before they are left behind by the rest of the pack. 6. Vitesse. After 33 straight seasons in the Eredivise, Vitesse's top-flight status is under threat. The 2017 Dutch Cup champions have never fallen lower than 9th in the past decade, regularly standing up to the Netherlands' biggest sides. Their success is built on their status as one of the best finishing schools in Europe, with the continent's elite regularly sending their best prospects their way. Even their current squad boasts loanees from Bayern Munich, Benfica, Brighton and Wolfsburg. But things aren't working out this season. 1 win and 6 losses from their opening 9 matches has left Vitesse fighting relegation and forced a change of management, with Thomas Lech departing after 100 games in charge. His sacking is pretty harsh, considering he managed a 4th and 6th place finish during his tenure, and this summer he lost their prolific forward Lois Openda after the Belgian was sold to Lens by his parents' side Club Bruges. In an intriguing twist, Lech has been replaced by Philip Cocu, who's been out of management since being sacked by Derby County almost 2 years ago. The 51-year-old former Barcelona captain has it all to prove, but a 3-0 drumming against FC Twente in his first match was a nightmare start. 5. Inter Milan. It would have been easy to predict the Nerazzurri would come back with a vengeance this season after losing out on the Scudetto to arch-rivals AC Milan, but that certainly hasn't been the case. Despite the stay of Inter's stonewall defensive assets Alessandro Bastoni and Milan Skriniar and the arrival of Lukaku, Inzaghi's side find themselves in 7th, and already 8 points behind leaders Napoli. Lukaku's fairy tale return has been underwhelming to say the least, with him featuring more in the physio room than the starting 11. Meanwhile, Federico Di Marco has struggled to fill the void left by Ivan Perisic on the wing, while January addition Robin Gosens has already been linked with a winter move to Leicester City. A Derby Day loss at the hands of Milan followed a painful defeat to Lazio, and their problems would continue after coming up short against Udinese and Roma. Paulo Dybala even scored in the Giallorossi's recent victory at San Siro, adding salt to Inter's wounds after they were heavily linked with the Argentine in the summer. Simone Inzaghi needs to figure out how to get the better of his Serie A rivals soon, or his job security may come into question. 4. Nantes. Next up is Nantes, who are supposed to be building on their excellent Coupe de France triumph. Victory over Nice in the final delivered the Canaries their first major silverware in over 20 years and qualified them directly into the Europa League, signalling a new golden age for the club. They even invested heavily, spending a net of €10 million this summer. Not loads, but huge by their standards. Their rivals included the veteran Moussa Sissoko, along with the attacking duo of Ignatius Ganago from Lens and Galatasaray's Mustafa Mohamed. Nantes' main problem, however, was that Rondal Kolo Muani left to join Eintracht Frankfurt on a free transfer. The French international had been invaluable to their success, scoring 21 and assisting 8 in the past 2 seasons, and sure enough, Nantes have looked despairing in his absence. With 1 win from 10 in Ligue 1, Antoine Koumbarari's side are hovering above the relegation zone, while their 18 goals conceded is almost a third of the total amount they let in last term. Icons like Ludovic Blas are failing to fire, and the pressure is mounting. 4 teams are relegated from Ligue 1 this season, and Nantes must do everything to ensure they aren't one of them. 3. Almeria. After sealing promotion back to La Liga for the first time since 2015, Almeria made it clear they didn't plan to go anywhere. Fueled by their Saudi owner, Turki Al-Sheikh, La Union spent €37 million on new players in the summer, the 4th most in the division and more than Atletico and Sevilla. A draw and a win in their opening 3 fixtures suggested it was money well spent, as well as a well-fought 2-1 defeat against Real Madrid. But that initial optimism was followed by 4 straight defeats. It means after 8 games, Almeria find themselves just hovering above the relegation zone in 15th. Their defence has actually held up, only losing by a single goal margin on 3 occasions. However, the same cannot be said for their attack, with just 7 scored so far. But here, manager Rubi has been blunted by the loss of their star striker Oumar Sadiq to Real Sociedad on deadline day, who netted 18 for the promoted side last year. Almeria need to find goals and fast, or their ambitious return to the top tier might be cut short sooner than they hoped. 2. Bayer Leverkusen. Out of nowhere, everything started going horribly wrong at Bayer Leverkusen. This was meant to be the campaign that they closed the gap on Bayern Munich. After all, last season, Gerardo Seoane led the club to a brilliant 3rd place finish. Then they exited the summer window in good health, retaining all their big stars and making eye-catching additions in Callum Hudson-Odoi and the highly rated Adam Milošić from Sparta Prague. With Moussa Diaby and Patrick Schick already forming an excellent forward line that netted 80 times last term, 27 times more than the previous campaign, the stage looks set for a stunning season in West Germany. But instead, the club are enduring their 2nd worst ever start to a Bundesliga campaign since returning to the division in 1978. Never before had they lost their 3 opening league games, and while they have picked up 8 points since, Leverkusen still find themselves plunged into the relegation mix. 1 win in 3 Champions League outings has done little to distract from their problems either. But with new manager Xabi Alonso at the helm and a 4-0 victory over Schalke in his first game, there's plenty of time to turn things around at the Bay Arena. 1. Sevilla. For the most part of last season, Sevilla were punching well above their weight, sitting in 2nd place for 14 straight rounds. However, 22-23 has been nothing short of a crisis for the Andalusian side. Languishing in 18th with just one win, they have already lost as many games as they did in the entirety of last season. But the wretched run has stretched for a little while now, with just 8 wins in their last 33 in all competitions. Their summer business hasn't helped their situation. The club sold a selection of big stars in Jules Koundé, Diego Carlos and Lucas Ocampos, and their replacements haven't been up to scratch. The 20-year-old pair of Tanguy Nyonzu and Kike Salas both lack major first-team experience at centre-half, while their other option, Karim Rakik, looks way out of his depth. With results sliding, Julen Lopetegui was unsurprisingly sacked and replaced by Jorge Sampaoli, but there is huge pressure on the returning boss, as Sevilla have finished in the top half of the table for 20 successive campaigns and qualified for the Champions League for 3 years in a row. But given the current state of affairs, any hopes of continued European nights in Seville are fading away. So that was 10 teams struggling to meet expectations, but do you agree with our choices? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.